After you vacation in the water park capital of the world, you'll never look at water the same way again. Plan your next trip today at Whistels.com.
Tonight's I-Team report, martial law. There is a culture of sexism and bigotry at the Federal Air Marshal's office in Chicago. That's the claim of some former employees.
ABC 7 investigative reporter Chuck Gotti joining us tonight with more. Chuck.
Kathy, Ron, since 9/11, the Chicago Bureau of the Federal Air Marshal Service has been a pivotal office in keeping U.S. air passengers and aircraft safe in the skies. But tonight, the I-Team looks into allegations on the ground that senior managers at Chicago's Federal Air Marshal Office routinely ridicule women and berate blacks, Hispanics, gays, and veterans, and that Illinois' elected officials have ignored calls for help. Federal Air Marshals are trained to prevent another 9/11.
This is a hijacking! Nobody move! Nobody move!
Every day, FAMs, as they are known, travel incognito aboard many of the nation's 25,000 commercial flights. Hundreds of officers are deployed from this unmarked, nondescript building near O'Hare. In Chicago, FAMs are anything but a big, happy family.
The Chicago office is completely out of control.
Herman Nelson retired from the Air Marshal Service in 2010. Nelson, a career federal lawman in Chicago, says most upper managers of the Air Marshal Agency are retired Secret Service officials.
When this agency was created, they came over to get the Air Marshals up and running. They got in and they started discriminating against African Americans, Latinos, homophobic behavior, sexist behavior. Any kind of discrimination you can name, they've done it against disabled vets, people over a certain age.
Nelson and former Chicago Air Marshal Supervisor Michael Very talked with the I-Team. Very was fired in 2007. He says after complaining about numerous cases of top managers humiliating minorities, including one Hispanic Air Marshal who was told by his supervisor to perform a Mexican hat dance if he wanted a family day off.
The only way I'm going to approve this is if you put that little monkey hat on and you dance in front of my desk. You ever see the monkey in the organ grinder? And he wanted to dance around like that.
These are seasoned agents, and this kind of behavior is unacceptable. This isn't 1820. This is the year 2012, and we want it brought to light.
This recent report brought some of it to light. A 2-year investigation by the Department of Homeland Security's Inspector General found Federal Air Marshals repeatedly portrayed their supervisors as vindictive, aggressive, and guilty of favoritism. 33% of the female employees surveyed believed they had been subject to discrimination. 454 formal or informal equal opportunity complaints were filed by employees between September 2006 and April 2011. Nearly all of the bias complaints were denied, including Herman Nelson's.
The EEO process is a farce. And that investigation that they did, those were inspectors, and they channeled those interviews and investigations toward people that they knew were going to say what they wanted to hear. What we want is an independent investigation from an independent agency to come in and look at these problems happening in the Chicago office and elsewhere.
Here in the Orlando office, the Inspector General found Air Marshal supervisors played a Jeopardy-style game replete with racial and sexual slurs aimed at coworkers.
In terms of addressing those issues, obviously a number of personnel changes were made. Several people were fired. Some people resigned. New management was brought in several locations to address both the perception and the reality of the situation.
Air Marshal officials here in Chicago would not do an interview or answer questions about the allegations from former Chicago employees. We were referred to Washington, where officials sent us this month-old stock statement with their belief that the Inspector General found no evidence of widespread discrimination or retaliation in the Federal Air Marshal Service, and noted that these challenges do not interfere with the mission of the agency.
What we're asking is that Congress conduct an investigation.
Nelson, Very, and several former co-workers say they have written to government officials outlining the alleged misconduct that they say continues to this day.
Their behavior is completely unacceptable, and it's out of control, and that's why I want to tell this story.
Numerous current and former Federal Air Marshals wanted to appear in tonight's I-Team report, but say they feared retaliation, so they let Nelson and Very speak for them. Herman Nelson renewed his federal bias complaint, and he and Michael Very are now in the process of refiling a federal lawsuit against TSA. Their previous lawsuit was dismissed due to a technical error. I think it's safe to say that this is far from over.
Okay. Chuck, thanks.